Oh, it's the discussion in the chat.
I didn't originate the term. It's a philosophical position.
Yeah.
Yeah, with its own definition, and I was just said that because objective. Audra called it objective, which is.
So not the idea of natural law is that.
What happened, Kestrel?
Say that again, Audra. Oh.
I think the internet blipped for you.
I mean, if you're getting into anything other than might makes right, the lion taking down the gazelle, anything beyond that is going to be a philosophical construct one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right, because in reality, whoever has the big stick is the one who makes the rules.
Yeah.
You really have spaced out even more.
I mean, I had not a blowout, but I had a long discussion with Andy, you, and a couple of other guys just the other night about self-ownership, and I met with great resistance to the concept. Nobody wanted to accept that you own yourself, which I think is bewildering.
No, I say I agree with that. You own yourself.
What is the definition of yourself?
What's that?
Well,
the thing about ownership is you have to somehow be able to define by what you're claiming ownership is.
Audra, you're very muffled. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why. Bad internet. What other people are up at 4 a.m. using my internet?
To put it in other terms, to deny self-ownership is to say that you don't have primal claim over your own body and your own actions and your own decisions.
Well, as I understand it, under law, you don't own your own body until because as soon as you can't look after it, then you're the ward of the government.
Well, law is just paper.
And then, but then we go back to what is ownership, and then you've got the biggest stick thing. So
I could kind of tie it into, smoking weed or, getting abortions. And that could tie into the topic of abortion, too. So, I mean.
So maybe what we're saying here is that ownership does not require possession. Because typically they're kind of, in order to own something, you have to be capable of having possession of it. But maybe that's.
I think.
Because if you can own your own, because maybe that's what.
Well, yeah, because you can own something but not possess it. For instance, I own, say I own an Xbox controller, right? But I'm lending it to my friend to borrow for a few weeks because he lost his. Well, I still own that controller, but he's in possession of it.
Yeah, your car gets stolen. Yeah.
Or you own stock. You're not possessing the stock.
Example.
Damn it, there was something interesting.
See, over here in America, I don't know how it is over in the UK, but when people bring up owning your own body over here, that tends to be received as an abortion discussion because that's where it tends to surface the most often.
Yeah.
But just from a philosophical standpoint, when it comes to rights derive from property. And your body is your property. Nobody else has a higher claim on it than you. It's so simple. I don't even know why anybody takes issue with that. It's
well, when it comes to abortion and argument specifically, you could say that fetus has a right to its body.
Yeah, and I don't want to go there. I only bring it up because that tends to be the context in which that terminology surfaces in the United States. When it comes to other issues, people don't seem to clue in on that as much. Maybe slavery. A black person owns their body. Duh. There shouldn't be any further discussion than that.
Or euthanasia.
Or euthanasia, or eugenics. I think it should be perfectly legal to kill yourself. It's your body. Do what you want with it.
Yeah. I mean, like, how are they going to make that illegal? Like, I mean, are they going to arrest you?
Easily. You have to know they're going to commit suicide in the first place and then imprison them, which actually violates all of their rights. So, I mean...
Yeah.
See, rights are just not well understood anymore.
So theoretically, it can't even be illegal to kill yourself because it's going to happen anyways.
So would it be legal to drive a school bus full of kids at 90 miles an hour and then kill yourself, when you're halfway down?
Well, that's obviously.
That's
but then you'd be dead.
That's
If you were dead, a dead
discussion.
person. No, a dead person can't be
I mean,
prosecuted for.
you can't be held accountable, but obviously you'd be fucking up the lives of other people, so that's like wrong.
If there's 20 children on the bus, you're violating the property ownership of 20 individuals.
Yeah.
Granted, it's still the same idea that
possession of the bus. You're dead.
Well, the bus is another matter altogether. But if we're talking about people and their bodies,
fucking conversation.
I could totally see a bunch of freaking SFs looking at this conversation, going like, "What?"
Well, you know what? They can think whatever they want. I'm an INTJ. I don't give a fuck.
I know, it's just funny.
This is philosophy. We can talk about whatever we want.
If you really think about how we're talking about this, like the fact that every little thing, like the tire, is probably a completely separate issue. Like. Only I feel like only NTs and maybe some NFs can really understand the complexity of life like this.
Yeah, and if you listen to me long enough, you'll notice a distinct non-committal on a lot of subjects, and I'll even preface it with disclaimers that just kind of say, you know what, this is very complicated. And
my friend does that. She's an INTJ.
Doesn't surprise me.
You are friends with a unicorn.
Yes. Dude, I was in a bookstore and I saw this dude and I saw him walking. I was just like, that is a complete INTJ. Like, I just looked over. I was like, yeah, that dude. Because, like, the way he was walking and everything. Like, I mean, he was wearing all black. He wore glasses. Everything was very deliberate. It was definitely introverted. It was like, yeah, that dude is definitely an INTJ.
The more I think about it, the more I freaking am horrified in some ways at the fact that we are a democratic society. Because just imagine, like, all the fact that that the NT types are like rarer in the world compared to all the other types, and yet all the other types still get a voting say, even though they don't really think things through as deeply as we do.
You know what? I hate democracy. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's two wolves and a sheep voting for what's for dinner. That's the common parlance.
Well,
but
exactly. That's why.
Well, how is that? How is that the case? Who's the wolf and who's the sheep?
Obviously,
That's a good question.
I mean, if
Usually you get what sounds like a bunch of sheep voting for, let's not kill the sheep.
Well, think about it this way: you got 3 people, right? And they decided to create a government for themselves and make it a democracy rather than one of them being the ruler.
I would
2 people vote to kill the other guy.
Oversimplification. It's an oversimplification.
It is an oversimplification. But look at America. Look at how things have worked out by leaning towards democracy without. I mean, the number of safeguards that are in place are diminishing. Like
Eric says, it's not that it has to be a perfect scenario. It has to be the best, demonstrated to be the best of all the possible scenarios, which it seems to be.
You think pure democracy is the best of the demonstrated scenarios?
What do you mean by pure democracy? I don't know.
No. Okay, so basically, I think I touched on this earlier today.
So, Andy, I don't know if you can hear Audra or not.
I can barely. Sorry, I didn't. I think I heard something coming from there.
She's kind of being steamrolled.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Audra.
I was answering Kestrel. Kestrel, did you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, you say, because I think what I thought I heard you say was that democracy is, you think it's the best of the possible scenarios, right?
Yeah.
So
well,
pure democracy is more effective and more stable and provides more liberties to people within it than, say, like a democratic or representative republic, right?
Oh, well, no, I'm not talking about a pure democracy.
Okay, yes, that's what I was getting
No,
at. I'm trying to
some
figure
form
out
of
if you
democracy.
have democracy. Okay, yeah. I think like exactly what we have in the United States.
I mean,
right now,
I couldn't even tell you what a pure difference between right off the top of my head what the difference was, but
I'll tell you
the current the current system we've got today is
it's probably the
better.
Yeah,
options,
and I don't know exactly.
Dealing with the finessing quibbles of exactly how that gets carried out is
here's how I would put it. Democracy is fine so long as it doesn't intrude upon the rights of the individual. That can't be voted on. 300 million Americans can't vote to kill one person because then you've crossed the line into the rights of the individual.
You say that, Jacob, but we've had trouble even just defining ownership here.
Yeah.
So the idea of what is and what isn't rights is ethereal.
Well, if you'll notice, Kestrel, we had a real easy time defining what wasn't ownership. It's much easier, and that comes to a conversation we were having earlier about negative liberties versus positive liberties, right? It's much easier to define systemically that which you cannot do, or the negative, rather than the positive, and that's why it works.
Yeah, but then is that any more helpful though? Because there's many, it's like your options are wide open. You could say, oh, this bin here is not ownership.
Well, okay. Let me use a very practical example. If 300 million Americans vote to cut my index finger off, is that okay? Is that permissible?
No.
Why not?
Because it's like a violation of your property.
What property? We can't even define ownership, right?
But like you own your body.
I would agree with that, but we're dealing with an ethereal concept here.
Right, he would agree with that, but 300 million Americans don't agree with that.
Vote that's the definition of ownership. They voted that he didn't own his body, and then they voted that they would cut his finger off.
So at that point, democracy becomes tyranny of the majority.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not said it can't or doesn't have its or that it's perfect, but
anything
it's
that's
certainly preferable because it means that it's not perfect in terms of it's everything that Jacob wants for his birthday. It's more ideal in terms of a way to run society for the benefit of probably the majority and the individual, making a balance there.
I'm fine with democratic processes so long as they stay outside of the boundaries of liberties and rights.
And that seems inseparable to me. It seems you seem you're idealizing.
Right. You need if you're going to have a centralized government or any sort of overbody, it needs to be what's the word I'm looking for? It needs to be restricted. It needs to be slowed down. You need to throw a lot of molasses on it by design, right?
Yeah, that's why that we were designed as a democratic republic, so that we couldn't change too fast, so that we make decisions that we regret later. The problem is the people of today want the change to happen so fast because they want the problem to be solved now rather than later so fast. By the way they want it done, that is causing problems.
A huge problem is that people think this is a democracy. The United States is intended and is a democracy, and it's getting less representative republic. But they think that's what it needs to be. They don't understand the actual concepts.
Exactly, and most.
Go ahead.
I'd say the majority of society, because you can see that just from the statistics you can pull from multiple websites, even with the MBTI, the majority of society is made up of, I believe, SFs. So the problem you have there is you got people that make their decisions based off of feelings rather than facts a lot of the time. Now, granted, I do have a little bit of faith that they'd probably make more fact-driven choices, but they still don't research it as well as, say, an NT or an NF might. And so they end up making terrible decisions when voting because they aren't informed enough.
But regardless of your implementation of democracy, whether it's representative or direct or otherwise, you're still dealing with the boundaries of rights. Mm-hmm. And that's what seems to be completely missing today. I mean, as soon as you start talking about a right to health care, well, did somebody 3,000 years ago have a right to health care? What health care? Did that just kind of come into being when healthcare came into being? No, we're dealing with a different concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bloody. I tell you what, the NHS here. It's just. I saw it happening. You've got no fucking right to privacy. They can take your medical records. You don't have a right now to ask them to delete your medical records.
The rights,
and they're selling them to Google. It's fucking insane.
If contractually you surrender that right, then I would agree. But the right doesn't cease to exist simply because of some practical consideration. That rights are inalienable.
Yeah, you don't have these kind of contractual situations here. You know,
we have them here.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. It's more based on that idea.
And you do have to dive into the nuance of it, because the nuance of it is where we're losing them. And not losing them in principle, but losing them in practice. I mean, if I sign a contract with Chloe that she owns me, I have unlimited right to contract. And if I sign a contract that surrenders those rights in a practical sense, then she can sue me civilly if I decide to declare self-ownership.
I think she likes the sound of that contract.
No, I do not like the sound of that contract, because I do not want to own you, because then I have to be responsible for you. And it's like, no, that's putting me in a...
She brings up responsibility, which is the first thing that I've heard relative to rights, which the other side of the coin of a right is responsibility. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't really want to address.
Yeah, because, there's your personal responsibility over your actions. But in addition to that, there's also the responsibility of the government. If you think about, how our relationship is with the government here. So, they're just, a lot of things that, honestly, I don't really know why we set it up the way we set it up, because it just seems like a lot of excessive work. Who wants to do all that work just to have ownership over people?
Well, according to the verbiage of the Founding Fathers, it was set up this way as an experiment.
Yeah.
To see if we could be responsible and be a functional society with rights. And
obviously we at one point were a functional society with rights, but now it's starting to break.
Well, we have to go back to, I want to say 1913. I don't know if it was 1913, but I think you kind of know the general direction that I'm going in.
Federal Reserve Act?
Mm-hmm.
That was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn of that century was a lot of things started happening.
My God, my internet connection is shit.
I think one of the things they're going to do is, against us, is they're going to foment civil war. You can already see it. They're dividing us. And make it, because they have de-educated people to a certain level, so that this is possible.
Well, at this point, a civil war the lines between a civil war would be party lines. So you'd probably get basically the Republicans versus the Democrats in the Civil War. Well, guess who has all the guns in the United States?
The government. And
No,
honestly...
Yeah, actually, it's the Republicans that have all the guns. I guarantee you at least one out of every two Republicans has a gun. And about half the country. Multiple guns in some cases.
There's 300 million guns in civilian possession. There's 300 million civilians.
Right. I'd say at least 3/4 of that possession. They're probably possessed by a Republican by nature of the left wing politics of anti-gun. So therefore, in a civil war, you've got probably at least 100 million people versus our standing army of 1 million people. Maybe that's if the soldiers even agree to fire upon U.S. citizens, which I doubt.
Now to just throw a wrench in that gear, civilians aren't owning Apache attack helicopters and satellites.
Well, true, but at the same time, though, is the government really going to kill off 100 million people?
They don't need to kill them.
You know,
Well,
here's the
and
thing.
even so, are those soldiers going to even?
You also need to look at the demographic. You look at the components. You look at the people who are the military. You look at the actual people who are in the military, and
They're probably most of them are Republican too.
they're going to pick a side. They're not likely to just go, well, I'm going to follow the orders of whatever. Like
I'll tell you what, a modern civil war in a first world country would probably be the most devastating thing ever seen on Earth, besides maybe World War II.
That presupposes you're talking about like physical battle civil war, because not all wars are physical conflict.
That's true. If it was a physical conflict, yeah. I don't see how it would not turn into a physical conflict, at least on some level.
Well, it seems to me that the first thing that would happen is you'd get the local police forces, who are the ones that here, especially, who are the ones that have access to firearms and also the ability and resources to organise. And on the biggest scale locally. That's what's going to happen. The police
They're already organized. They do have
right. So the way it would
probably realize that the people who don't realize that the police are part of the Masonic Order will side with the police, and they would probably be the biggest group, and it would just be left with truthers. So probably it'd be the police and everyone else killing off the truthers. That's probably how it happened.
To be honest, I think how it's going to work is that we're not going to fall into a civil war. One side's eventually going to gain enough power that slowly, one by one, smaller communities will be that are leaning the other side that gets into power. That the weaker side are going to end up slowly being extinguished, instead of it being a massive civil war.
Well, historically, there's an interesting pattern that I've observed personally that appears to me is that eventually most, especially as widespread as we are as a country and how topographically and culturally different we are from end to end, you see a development of a power issue between concentrated populations versus rural populations.
Yeah.
Because you've got this very tense power dynamic with it. The rural populations are providing the situation for existence the central populations, right? But the central populations are more populous, right? And they end up, you get 2 or 3 generations, you get these great separations of understanding of the two different kind of cultures and systems, and they as they get further and further away, and people are they're born, they grow up and die in a totally contained system within these populous centers. It gets really interesting, and there gets to be a lot of tension, and there's a lot of, we don't talk about that particular dynamic a lot, but I think it's, you look at a lot of, even our Civil War and a lot of things, we're getting to the point where there's a huge gap in knowledge between the two. And it's like, oh my
true. God. Like, I'd say that actually if a physical civil war were to break out, I think that instantaneously the Republican side would probably be an advantage, not only because of the guns that they own, but also because of the fact that most of the rural areas are Republican. Guess where all the food's at?
Why would it be divided along party lines?
That's the way we're going right now.
No. If it was Civil War at all, it'd be smart people versus zombies.
What?
Have you seen Black Friday? Have you seen people beat each other up over a fondue pot?
I have not
Shoot one another over a freaking fondue pot?
Yeah.
I know what people are going to do in a Civil War situation.
I've seen
zombies. You got zombies all around. Zombies, you live with zombies every day. And you're going to be fighting those guys. It'll be us versus them. It's going to be divided along party lines. It'll be freaking zombie war.
Yeah, and even beyond that, even within Republicanism, there are factions.
That's true.
And I think it's kind of naive to start drawing the divisions that way. Or Democrats as well.
Well, true. So I guess maybe to go into a more realistic scenario, then if a civil war, we do get plummeted into civil war, there's going to be more than 2 sides, probably. It's probably just going to be this clusterfuck, for lack of a better term.
It's going to be zombies.
You're going to end up with those with the resources and those without the resources, because that's kind of how it ends up usually working out.
I'll tell you what.
You got one side saying we want your resources, and the other side saying, yeah, no.
Exactly.
Come and get them if you can.
Yeah.
That's how it worked out in Russia. I mean, they were going from farm to farm, and they wanted the food that they had stockpiled, and if they resisted, they killed them and took the food anyway.
I just like imagine the soup Nazi there.
Also fun.
Again, I think that this chat room could probably do a better job at running the government than people in government right now.
Hell, a fucking 4-year-old could probably do a better job at running the government than the government right now.
Yeah,
Let's
look,
be
the
real now.
government- Okay, the government is not trying to run the government. The government is trying to run the people
Yeah.
through fear.
That's pretty much, yeah, you're right.
And they like are intertwined with like the media too, and then you got the media that's involved, and you got it's just a clusterfuck.
Our Norwegian friends sitting here going, these fucking Americans.
Fucking Americans.
Yeah, I'm gonna tune a little bit in and out. Like, are you still talking about that? Yes, okay.
These people are out of their minds.
We'll talk about it.
Well, I'm surprised she's not interested because of her NT.
How do you know she's not? She's probably
She
getting a
could
kick
just-
out of it.
Well, she's an introvert, so maybe that's why she's being quiet.
She might just be thinking about things. Her top function is TI.
True.
She's got that.
The blue nails.
Or
Contrast
maybe,
with the red hair.
maybe I live in a completely different world.
Yeah,
You
Norway.
might. Maybe you're an alien. Okay.
Like, seriously, listening to you guys talk about wages and rent and tax and shit. What the fuck? I'm not even going into that.
How does your government run?
I pay
Like,
tax
what-
and we get free shit.
That sounds
Sounds like
familiar.
a European country.
Hmm?
It sounds exactly like a European country.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You guys aren't part of the Eurozone, though, are you?
No, we aren't.
Nice.
All right, so they're completely separate from the European Union. Then is that what I'm hearing?
No, they're not part of the European central currency.
No, but we have like trade agreements and so on, but not part of the EU, the European Union.
Okay.
I was specifically talking about the currency aspect of it.
Own currency.
Just out of curiosity, I need to look it up. Like, another thing I always think is interesting about the United States is that compared to, is that the actual, like I said, the actual spatial size of the country are particularly-
You're cutting off, Audra.
Audra, we can't hear you.
Okay, well, never mind then.
Oh.
Sorry. You could always put it in the chat if you have fast enough fingers, of course.
Do I look like I want to chat? I have a rule. It's like, and I've already broken it a couple of times, but mostly I stop writing things down after like 2 a.m. It's chat box curfew. And also, the point of this whole thing is that I get to talk out loud instead of chatting with my fingers.
Yeah, good point. Your mic was doing okay there.
I don't know if it's my mic or the internet or whatever.
Well,
I
maybe
should
you-
complain. The government should give me better internet because I live in the country.
It's your right.
It's their fault. It's my right to have good internet. But you guys have better internet than me.
That's funny.
I don't even know what I was talking about.
I think the most prominent problem in this country, though, is the fact that people think that if they have a problem, they should go to the government to fix rather than fixing it themselves.
Yes, I
But
agree.
well, I think we talk about all these structural things, but the problem with all the structural things is that people need an awareness of the cultural things that are driving the structural mistakes. The social things, and you're like, but yeah.
I took
When people examine the structural and mechanical aspects of some of this system, they don't like looking at the social aspects. They don't
But
like.
is it not fixing it yourself if you vote for people who make changes that actually benefit you?
I don't
You
think
don't-
so.
You vote to make changes to benefit you because that's an extremely naive perception of the entire system.
Yeah, I know the system is so far beyond that it's not a simple fix.
No, the
Right.
problem is we've made so many complex problems by accident. It's going to take a complex solution, and we don't have enough smart people. That are not only do we have not enough smart people, but even if all the smart people were to freaking get in positions of power, then you have the problem of corruption.
And just voting people in does not compel their behavior.
Exactly.
No, it won't.
That's
So
my
it will
point.
take a long time.
And also, you can't compel an outcome, which is what a lot of people try to do. They're like, "Oh, I want this outcome. Give it to me." You're like, no. I don't know. My personal theory is that we can change. We're probably driving off a cliff, metaphorically, but you can sometimes, occasionally, like tweak the steering wheel slightly, or let off the gas a little bit.
And it's
what's
really
your-
easy to vote for
I think
somebody.
honestly, you want to hear my theory? Is that the best fix for all of our problems is honestly would be another like serious world war, because it would kind of like put a social reset on a whole bunch of stuff.
That's
But that's
fucked up.
Yeah,
I
that's obviously a screwed up situation. But I think that Hodger's right. That's the only way.
But it
That's
might
the
actually
only
solve a
fix.
lot of problems.
Yeah, because then we would be thinking on a practical basis that we wouldn't be focused on these trivial things such as, misogyny. No, we would be like actually making an effort to survive.
It's pretty Machiavellian.
Yeah, as screwed up of a situation as that would be, I think Hodger's right about that.
What's your opinion on countries like Norway and other countries which benefit their people?
I have no clue how Norway runs, so I'm gonna go no comment.
I think that if you have a relatively homogeneous population in a relatively small homogeneous topography and area, like I think that you can, for possibly some duration of time, appear to sustain some sort of system. But I don't. Most of the ones I've examined are not. They're still weak.
Okay, so
Even
you're
if-
pretty much calling it bullshit.
Yeah, I'm calling it eventual bullshit. Yes.
Well,
With famous people, provisional government elects to go to war with everybody.
With everybody.
that's our solution. Deal with it.
Done. We're so much better than the government. So much better.
What kind of war did you have in mind?
Oh, an actual physical war would probably be what
Nuclear
it
war?
would take.
We gotta have at least a nuke.
No, not a nuclear war. It would have to be like an actual like arms war for some reason.
A ground war.
Where?
Somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if it started.
Somewhere?
It would either start in North Korea or the Middle East. That's where it would
So,
start.
so basically
That's the
anywhere but
thing.
your backyard.
Yeah, like fuck the rest of the world. We want to fix our economy by fucking up to some other place.
Tanzania.
So fucking retarded.
No, we're saying that if that did happen, though, that would fix a lot of issues. But from a moral standpoint, bad idea.
What the
Olivia,
fuck?
I'm not advocating for it, as
Yeah,
Abe would. Not advocating for it, but it does seem to actually be more of a solution than a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like one of those things we don't want to advocate it, but it's true. We can't deny that it's true. It would fix our country's problems if that happened.
Let me try and nuance that
How
a
would
little
that
bit.
re-implement anything?
Is the purpose of that to
We
put
tried it.
people in a position to make decisions where they're actually it's a life or death thing rather than luxury? And you think that's an effective means to that end? Is that what you mean? As
And
opposed to
It's not even that. It's just having a redirecting the focus outwards rather than inwards at a core level.
Well, the thing is like I could probably think about all the frickin' details if I actually actively thought about it right now, but I don't have time to do that, obviously. But I would say that the simple way to say it is just look at the past 2 world wars we had.
Yeah.
Each time afterwards we flourished. The difference was after World War I, obviously we had the whole frickin' stock market crash thing, which was completely separate from the World War. But immediately after the World War, the United States was obviously in a good position because, outside war had happened. A lot of the original major powers were in shambles, and so therefore the United States was able to rise a little bit. After World War II, similar situation happened, except this time all of the major powers, except for the United States, ended up basically being completely obliterated for the most part in a lot of ways.
It's
So
not
You
the
don't want to
lesson.
pay tax. You want to get back to that era and don't pay tax.
It's not the lessening of opposition like you're saying. It's the unified direction. Honestly,
I think it's a combination of both.
A social thing and coming, that unified direction and going, oh, we have bigger problems, right? Than who's being misogynistic and whether or not we should, put them in jail for that. Baskin Robbins doesn't have my favorite flavor of ice cream anymore.
I think we scared Suzanne.
No, she's shaking her head. She's like crazy American.
But yeah, no, theoretically, I think that it's a combination of both, really, because, like I said, if your opponents are completely, economically destroyed, and you're the only one still, operating at full capacity, then that's obviously a win situation for you.
Right.
Even though
Leave it
Allies
look at
also-
the focused economic kind of
Western Europe.
economic focus that would tell me something. If you need to actually be unified, you need to come together and be producing resources for external,
Well, okay,
Yeah.
let's say this were China who was addressing.
aligning a lot of economic forces as well as social forces.
So if China were facing the same kind of proposition that a world war would solve their economic problems and it just happened to sacrifice the United States and maybe cost us 150 million lives, would you find that acceptable?
I'm not saying it was acceptable to begin with. I'm just saying theoretically it would favor us if that were to happen for the United States. I wouldn't. Obviously, I think war is a terrible thing, so I would try to avoid it at all costs.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I've said, based on all of the think throughs that I've been through over the years, it's one of the few
It's one of those things where it's like, well, if all else fails, let's do something that helps us and screw everybody else, which is obviously
reset without a total collapse. Which is, like I said, I'm just making it me. I'm relating contemplation.
Yeah, I mean, the original topic was prioritizing outcome, and if we're going to prioritize outcome, why don't we just go to war? That helped stuff. Who cares about the process to get there? That was the idea.
Yeah, it was the idea, yeah. So basically, that's where we have to go, okay, well, the process to get there is obviously a problem, so we can't implement that process.
Because to me that sounds a lot like, well, shit, I've racked up a lot of debt and my mortgage is behind 3 months. I'm going to rob my neighbor to solve my problem and everything's cool.
Well, exactly. That's the whole point. Is that
But
technically,
if you look at it,
we were theoretically talking about how that is a solution to your problem, but it's not a moral one.
I mean, I've thought about doing that before, to be honest. I'm really deep in debt. So,
There's
Yeah,
worse kinds of debt to be in.
there are, I agree. But, I don't know. In total, I think I'm about, 600. No, not even 600, just 3,000. Yeah, I think I'm $4,000 in debt. Yeah.
That's not bad, actually, compared to a lot of people.
I don't know. I did an Excel spreadsheet on this. Let me go back to the Excel
You're
thing.
doing a lot better than a lot of college students. For instance,
online.
when I get out of college, I'll be somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 of debt, probably.
ow.
Okay.
Before you make $1 off of that degree.
Yeah. And that one's going the cheap route, kind of.
My policy has always been, education is not worth debt. So,
Well, I
it really
think it's worth it. It depends. You have to choose the right degree, and you have to be smart about it. And then while you're in college, you should be working some, and you should be looking for internships, not just sitting on, I'm going to get a degree, so I'm going to get a job. That's not how it works. You have to have experience and a degree.
as much as possible. Sometimes that varies. If you are putting debt on a degree, you need to have a very clear plan on how you're going to get your return on that investment. Because
Exactly. So I plan on going into a job, with that degree. That my degree I'm getting is business administration. Now the deal with that is right off the bat, on average, the average job I can find will be about a $60,000 a year job with that degree, right? Well, if I'm in $20,000 to $40,000 of debt, I could easily live comfortably and pay that debt off in 3 years, even with the interest.
I don't mean to be a pessimist, but mark my words, it's not going to be that easy.
Well, it's not. There's always going to be something in the way. So I'm expecting to probably pay it off for like 5 to 10 years, probably. But the point is if I get lucky, or if I get a little bit of luck and I can actually control my spending, unlike some people, then I will actually be able to pay that off quickly and efficiently.
You're an ENTP. I'm just pointing that out. Like money,
Right.
I mean, if you're a genuine ENTP, okay, no, I'm not gonna pull that shit. I'm not one to know what is and what isn't a genuine ENTP. But I know
that forces himself to do crap that I don't want to do.
I don't know. The big challenges for VP times is monitoring and actually being mature about like money and shit.
Oh yeah, I know. I've had to ask. There have been several times where I've had to ask my parents, "Hey, could you help me with my cell phone bill because I completely accidentally spent all my money for this paycheck. I'll owe you later." But I'd say that's more of a learning curve that ENTPs have to go through more so than other people.
I'd like to challenge that because ENFPs, at least you guys have TI, so you could kind of TI what you're about to do. ENFPs, we have the FI, so we just, once we feel like it's the right thing to do, we're just like, fuck it, let's go do it. And then we end up with like $600 of debt on our credit card. So, I mean.
Okay, well, I have to say this. My best friend's an ENFP, and he's a lot smarter than I am about that, so.
Maybe he's developed like TE because that takes a while for us to develop.
Well, all I know is he's a lot smarter than I am about a lot of things. He's also 5 years older than I am, so.
Okay, so he probably developed TE because,
He acts like, he can act a lot like, he's an ENFP that really does think about what he does first a lot of the time. So, not an ENTP, but I know he's an ENFP because of the way he acts and stuff like that, but when it comes to serious issues, he does actually stop and think about them a lot more than I'd say a lot of other ENFPs do. So I think he has a very well-developed T.
Yeah, but it takes a while, and also it depends as to the circumstances too that we grow up in. Because for me, it's just I'm 20, so I'm just hey, Friday night, I'm just hey, I can go live it up. I got credit card, I got money. Yeah, I can do whatever I want.
The reason I didn't buy myself a credit card. That's the very reason I didn't buy myself a credit card or get myself a credit card.
Yeah, you were
I knew
very
that I would have problems with that.
It's just I don't know. You go out and you're yes, I have this. I don't know. It's a bad thing. I'm going to be honest. I am a little bit of an immature ENFP. I need to develop that TE. That's the thing.
You should, because here's the deal. An ENFP with a really well-developed TE, I can tell you, is a very successful person.
Mm-hmm.
I know several ENFPs that have succeeded wildly in life.
Yeah.
So
I need to master that, but we don't master that till our late 20s.
Yeah, it says a book or a web page.
What?
It says a book or a web page. You can do it.
Yeah. I could.
Yeah.
The key is to start now, not later. Not expect it to just happen. You gotta actively be improving yourself on a daily basis, or it'll never come to you.
True.
Like, for instance, I got problems. I'm trying to think of a good example right now. I can tell you guys that's not too private. Let's see. Oh, my narcissism problem, right? On a daily basis, I think about it. I usually spend at least 5 minutes a day now thinking about, okay, what have I done today how narcissistic was I today? I start going over different conversations I've had over the day, and I start going over stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I put way too much focus on myself for that, so let's limit that. So I put it in the back of my mind, don't be narcissistic. And so throughout the next day, I have that in the back of my mind, not to be narcissistic. Just over time, it'll just pop in my head, hey, check yourself, that kind of thing. So it's the idea that you're constantly, day to day, putting in actual effort and energy into doing that.
Yeah. I think that's a good. Wait, so are you diagnosed with actual NPD?
I used to be diagnosed with autism. And I'm not a narcissist. I'm not an actual diagnosed narcissist, but I do have narcissistic traits.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, all of us have different traits of different disorders.
Well, I've noticed narcissism is a huge ENTP trait, negative trait. So
yeah, it kind of goes with the territory at this point, but it's I don't know, you're not as egotistical as other ENTPs that I've seen. So, and some ENTPs are actually pretty cool to talk to. So,
yeah, I've met a wide range of ENTPs. I think that the ENTPs, INTPs, and ENFPs, from what I've noticed, those three personalities tend to have the most subtypes, I'm guessing, or at least the most varied subtypes, because from what I've seen, I've met some ENTPs that are some real dicks, and I've met some other ENTPs over here, like Mark, a good example, and Audra, I don't really know that well, but Mark, I'd say, is also a really nice ENTP. So, there's a huge range for us.
I think it's easier for us to pick up on the subtypes and the differences between types that are closer to us.
That's true, too.
I'm sure there's just as many with the other types. It's just we put them all together and blend, they're meh. That's what they're this thing. Like this beige color. But I'm sure there's a bunch of other things going on in there that we just don't pick up.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I've speculated some different ways that I can develop TE, and it's interesting.
Well, here's the thing. And develop your thinking cognitive functions. What I would suggest to you is you constantly try to keep in the back of your head, whenever you're making a decision during the day, try to think about it first rather than using your feelings to make your decision. Try to actually stop and think about it. Even if it's just what am I going to have on the menu? Instead of just going I feel like having this, just stop, take 5 to 10 seconds and actually think about it first. Think about, and don't just think about it as I think I'd like this. Think about it as, is this going to be nutritious for me? Is this going to, what's the calorie count of this versus that? That kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I've been doing that a lot lately.
There you go. That'll help.
I've also been doing other things. I've been doing practical things like making my bed and stuff and organizing things. And it's oh, I can do this. And
right.
It's
I had to do that with my room. I will tell you that my room, you couldn't even see the floor until actually a few months ago when I actually decided to be an adult and clean it. So, because I literally had food under my bed from 10 years ago. That's how bad it was.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I want to make it a daily effort to daily clean my room and make sure things are organized and, kind of work with logical thinking.
Right. I do that.
I mean, it isn't that I'm not capable of doing it. It's just that I don't know. It's just, sometimes it can be a kind of a pain in the ass and it's easier to just say, fuck it, and then go do something else.
Well, exactly. The funny thing about me in my room is I logically thought myself out of cleaning my room because I was like, logically, there's so many other things I could be doing to be productive other than cleaning my room right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, here's the other logical aspect. The problem with making your bed every single day is that at the end of the day, you're going to come back to your bed and fuck it up. So it's going to be a continuous cycle of making the bed, then fucking it up, making the bed, then fucking it up. And by the time you're done, you're just like, well, shit. You know,
I don't even. That's actually one thing I don't even do anymore. I don't make that.
So what is the point of making your bed?
I mean, it is
looks
supposed
nice.
to be like, it's supposed to look nice, but also it feels productive. That's entirely the point of it.
Well, I don't know if that's TE. That's definitely 4-slot SI, I think.
I'm still not making my bed. Okay.
Yeah. I don't make my bed.
I don't make my bed. I mean, there is okay. I will say this: there comes a time to actually make your bed because eventually this blankets get so messed up that it's uncomfortable to lay in your bed because the blankets are all screwed up or something like that. So you want to make your bed every once in a while just to fix that. But making your bed on a daily basis, I think that's pointless.
Do any of you fold your laundry?
I do. I started to do that when I moved in because I wanted to try to do that, and then it went to shit.
I have a huge pile of clothes.
Oh, there's laundry feet about all over my floor right now, and the laundry that is in my drawers is like half folded, half not.
See, at least I'm kind of organized though because I keep it on a box, and I keep it on the same location, but it's like a mess. But at the same time, it's like an organized mess, if that makes sense.
Exactly, it's organized chaos.
Just buy the laundry baskets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought myself a laundry basket, and that's full, and there's still laundry speed about through my.
Buy more.
I actually thought about that.
And God forbid all your shirts are black and you're looking for a specific one.
Yeah, I've had that before.
You're like, I know this shirt is.
I know this shirt is clean. It's got to be somewhere. You find it in the bottom of your laundry basket, that dirty laundry basket. Like, oh, I guess I was wrong about that.
Yeah, I've been
Gosh
there.
dang it. Like, there's times where it's like, oh, my work shirt's dirty. I guess I'm wearing it dirty to work today.
Yeah. I had an ISTJ grandma, so like every day, like I spent like 2 summers with her, and at first it was like horrible because she tried to teach me to sew, and she was very attentive to detail, and I was just like, man,
that's going to be painful for you.
it was painful. But then the second year, it was like I felt like I was improving as a person, and I thought, in a way, we actually are good for each other because I could like be random and have fun with you and teach you how to have fun, like when we're not in this serious situation, and you could teach me how to develop skills. So, and she taught me how to like make the bed every single day. She was like, no, you don't half-ass this shit. Like, make your fucking bed. And I was just like, okay. And she would like come in and she'd be like really adamant about it. She'd be like, no, you got to make your bed because this is disorganized. I was just like,
it does help in a lot of areas of your life when you do stuff like that every day.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
my dad is the opposite of me. He's an ISFJ.
Oh, damn.
I got in the habit of flossing every day. I feel like that helped a lot.
It's kind of funny. Me and my dad actually don't fight that much. It's interesting. I think his introverted tendencies. He doesn't really. Me and him don't really talk much, but when we do, we can kind of relate because we have a lot of. We kind of.
What type's your dad?
Well, he's an ISFJ.
Then you get along fine. Along real good.
He's my exact opposite.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
And in terms of relationships, especially like romantic ones, ISFJ is supposed to be ideal.
I would disagree with that. I think I would have a hard time with an ISFJ girlfriend.
I think I'd rather have an INFJ, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably go for the N. I will not get along with anybody that has S when it comes to a relationship with them. I do not think that would be the case. They have to have that N or I'm going to go nuts.
Got that in, girl.
I mean, unless she was an S with kind of like ambiverted in the S and N category, then maybe. But like, yeah, they got to have a developed intuition, at least if they're an S.
Well, ISFJs are cool because they allow you to be in contact with reality for a bit. You're like, oh yeah, This exists.
I guess you're right. My dad does that with me for a little bit, but I could not see myself marrying the same personality types as my dad. That's not happening.
That would be so hilarious though if you did it. Then like you introduced them to each other and then they started thinking,
Gosh.
wait, there's something in common here. And then they're like, oh. That would be hilarious.
I know that my mom is an she's an ENFJ. So her last two letters are opposite of me. She's constantly with that structure stuff and like
What?
Managing people's perspectives is what she'd be doing.
Yeah, she's good at that. So, and me and her, let's just say, butt heads all the freaking time.
I can understand that.
My TI versus her FI is usually the issue.
She doesn't have FI though. She has
Whatever
FE.
the feeling is, whatever the feeling is, it's pissing.
She has FE in the first slot.
FE in the first slot.
That's exactly why we don't get along.
So an ENFJ for
Okay,
you.
here's an example of why me and my mom fight all the time. When we were living in a house together, I would stay up in the middle of the night like this, right? Talking to some friends or something like that, like very quietly. Like I wouldn't even be talking, right? I would be just playing my video game silently, not even talking, with my headset on, so no noise. My mom would wake up the other morning and she's like, "Wait, were you up last night?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You're the reason why I couldn't sleep." I'm just sitting here like, "I was making no noise," and she's like, "I can just sense it." I'm just like, what the frick are you talking about?
I don't know. I mean, I could kind of understand that, and my mom actually had the same thing because, like, and actually, I've noticed that with like family members too. It's like even if I'm like being completely quiet, but I'm awake, people sense it. Or if someone else is awake, but they're like being completely quiet in the house, it's like I don't know. There's just an energy, and I sense it.
It's weird. I wonder if that's a female thing because all I know is it drives me nuts because I'm just sitting here like there is no logical basis for this. You're crazy.
It might be a female thing. It might just be, but I don't know. Like I mean, one day I was doing
pisses me off. It used to piss me off. Like
one time I was with my grandpa and I was in the house and I was just reading and I was in my room. Well, and I was in the room that was designated for me anyway. And like it was late at night. He comes in. He's like, "Aren't you going to go to sleep sometime soon?" I'm like, "What?" And his room is like all the way at the other end of the house. And then I talked to my mom about it. He was just like, "Yeah, it's a thing." Because, like, I mean, people just sense it, like, when you're awake. And I'm just like, dude, what the fuck?
I don't sense when people are awake or not. I don't give a crap. So
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I mean, Santa Claus is a male, so I think that disproves your theory about it being a female thing.
Yeah, I think it's
maybe
he knows what you're
telling Santa Claus.
I don't know.
I do know that the other source of our fights a lot is my mom's always constantly being upset at me because I'm not considerate of her feelings. So, but that's just an ENTP thing, I think, for me.
Yeah, but then, like, if you're not considerate of people's feelings, then why are we having, like, a really great discussion right now? Like, I mean, I'm an ENFP, so...
Well, I'm actively thinking about being considerate of people's feelings, kind of, right now.
Andy's very direct.
Just the problem is in daily life, when I'm focused on something else, I can come across as pretty blunt and rude, so...
Yeah, I could see that. Moving.
Like when I'm socializing, I'm specifically focusing on okay. I mean, I think I'm actually using my I believe it's FE, isn't it? Like it's my third in my cognitive function stack, isn't it? FE.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually using my little bit of FE while I'm actually socializing, but when I'm not socializing, it's like completely shut off. So.
Yeah, the ENTP in the corner just picking his nose, thinking about metaphysics.
You guys are not going to let that go, are you? No, they're talking about me. I picked my nose on camera earlier today.
Dude.
I instinctively do it.
Like, I wasn't even referencing that. I didn't even know that, but now that you told me, now I know. That's gross.
Hopefully you weren't digging for a delicious temptation.
I'll be right back. I need to get some food or drink or something.
Good.
Oh, I have to work in the morning. Gosh dang it.
On Memorial Day?
I work at Subway, dude. We're not closed on Memorial Day.